Okay, so we're going to talk about spiritual gifts, and we're going to see what Adonai has for us. And as I said, we've hinted at this before, is that we all want to begin walking in our spiritual gifts. And so let's see what Adonai has for us. I'm going to start off talking about extreme makeovers, all right? And we're going to see what that has to do with our spiritual gifts. And then we're going to talk about the ultimate extreme makeover. We're going to give a little bit of information about the different gifts. We're going to answer the question, what are the spiritual gifts that are listed in Scripture? And then what kind of application? So let's start off with extreme makeovers. I'm sure that all of you have seen HGTV, right? Where they go and they take an old house, an old beat up, nasty looking house, and they totally make the house over. They redo it. It's called flipping a house, right? When you want to go and flip it. Okay, so they'll have a house that looks like it's basically been condemned. Or sometimes they'll have a pretty nice looking house, but maybe there's a room or two that really look pretty bad. It can have rotted out wood or whatever. And once they finish with that house or that room, it is absolutely amazing, and you see a beautiful transformation. Sometimes you can watch programs on the Do-It-Yourself Network, okay? And they have all sorts of projects where you can renovate a room or renovate your house. Another program is called Homes on Homes. That's one of AJ's favorites. Whenever we would go over to my mother's house, there was a time where we'd go over there, and that's what he wanted to watch, Homes on Homes. And again, this guy, he would go and he would show how you could do an extreme makeover or flip a house. Now, what about the ultimate extreme makeover? The ultimate extreme makeover, let's read 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. And we're just going to extrapolate from homes on homes and the Do-It-Yourself Network and flip that house. We're going to extrapolate that to us because Adonai has a plan for an extreme makeover with us. So 2 Corinthians 5, beginning in 17. Notice what Paul says. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Stop right there. If anyone is in Messiah, once we are born again, when we become new in Messiah, we actually become a new creation. Okay? We actually become a new creation. And the picture, it's a new you, and the key word there is creation. It's creation. You have been created totally new. Okay? Now, here's the picture. Whenever you hear the word creation, what should you think about? Anyone? In the beginning. That's right. As soon as you hear the word, if he says, if any man is in Messiah, he's a new creation, you should think about in the beginning, right? Now, when the earth was first formed, what are the two words that described the earth in Hebrew? In Hebrew, the earth was tohu vabohu, right? The English words translated are without form and void, right? Void and without form. In Hebrew, it's tohu vabohu. And so what happened is Adonai took something that was tohu vabohu, and I can't remember one of those words. I didn't prepare as I should, but one of those words means chaos, is what it means. It means just utter, total chaos. It can be translated devastation, okay? Chaos and devastation. That's what characterized the earth when Adonai first created it. But then as we progress through the 7 days of creation, that which was total chaos, that which was total devastation, that which was total darkness was transformed by adding lights, by bringing forth life, the vegetation, and then the animals, and then man himself. Okay? So in other words, creation, and this is an excellent midrash. The whole reason why the creation is told the way it is, where Adonai started off with darkness and devastation and chaos, tohu vabohu, and then converted it into something beautiful, is to give us a picture of what he does within us when he redeems us and when we're born again. because we start off walking in sin. We start off walking in darkness. And then he comes, he shines his light within us. All of those metaphors, everything that we learn in the creation account, God uses in other portions of Scripture to explain what happens within us. So in new creation, we become a new creation. And as a new creation, we start off in darkness and tohu vabohu. And it says, therefore, if anyone is in Messiah, he's a new creation. Old things are passed away. It says, behold, all things have become new. All things have become new. Now notice what he says in verse 18. Now all things are of God, who has reconciled us to himself through Yeshua Messiah and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, God was in Messiah reconciling the world to himself, not imputing their transgressions to them, and has committed to us the ministry of reconciliation. In other words, what Adonai did is he saves us, he makes us a new creation. Why? He reconciled us so that we can then reconcile others. Okay? So you just think about that. He takes those who are fallen, those who are weak, those who live sinful lives, and he makes a new creation, and then they become ones who then go out to a dying world and preach the gospel. It's like what he did with the Samaritan woman at the well. And remember, she got redeemed. She believed in Yeshua. She went back and told everyone and transformed lives. It's like what he did with the Gadarene demoniac, right? Remember that? Remember, he would cut himself. He was in chains. He would howl at night and be in the graveyard. And then that was, in other words, his life was one of tohu vabohu. His life was utterly devastated, okay? If you can think about that. See, if we were to just sit and think of what would life be like if we were that Gadarene demoniac, right? Walking around naked without any clothes on, howling and screaming, right? And in the graveyards. And so God took that man and he transformed his life just like he took the earth of tohu vabohu. And the reason why is so that then he could be a testimony of the good things that God had done in his life. Okay? So 2 Corinthians 5:17, Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. Okay? Again, this is all about the extreme makeover, which is how Adonai takes us and he changes us and makes us new. So Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 through 10 is going to explain, these 10 verses are going to go through the extreme makeover process with us. So let's read in verses 1 through 3. And you he made alive who were dead in trespasses and sins, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience, among whom also we once conducted ourselves in the lusts of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, just as others. And so this was the old man, okay? This was many of us adults here. This is us before we were regenerated, okay? It was the old man. So Ephesians 2, 1 through 3 is similar to the tohu vabohu of Genesis chapter 1. But let's read in Ephesians 2, 4 through 6. But God, who was rich in mercy because of his great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in trespasses, made us alive together with Messiah. By grace you have been saved, and raised us up together and made us sit together in the heavenly places in Messiah Yeshua. Okay? And so, in other words, right here, what he's showing us is that this time, well, as in 2 Corinthians 5, he talked about us being a new creation. This time, he uses another metaphor to speak about how we came out of darkness into light. And he says that we have been resurrected. Okay? Resurrected. These are very graphic words when you think about creation, the creation of the earth. And when you think about resurrection, to take something that is dead and to literally make it alive. Okay? These are extreme These are extreme opposites. When you have creation and you have tohu vabohu on one hand, and then when you get to it 7 days later, and you have this beautiful Garden of Eden, the animals in total peace, tranquility, and harmoniousness, that right there is from one extreme to another. Okay? When you have a situation where he says that we were dead in our sins and transgressions, we were literally dead people, even though we were alive. That's what Yeshua meant when he said, let the dead bury their dead. These are people who are alive physically, but walking in spiritual death. And he says that we were dead in our sins and transgressions, but he made us alive in Messiah. That's taking a dead, that's the physical reality is a dead person and raising that person to life, and that's what he's done to every one of us who's been born again by the blood of the Lamb. Okay? And then verses 5 through 9. Okay, so this is a progression. Verses 1 through 3 is the old man, the pre-Messiah person. That pre-Messiah person is resurrected, verses 4 through 6, resurrected to new life, and then verses 5 through 9, we're resurrected for a reason. Verses 5 through 9, it says here, let's start in verse 6, and he raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Messiah Yeshua. Why? That in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace and his kindness towards us in Messiah Yeshua. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that none of yourselves, it is a gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. Now notice what it says here. Here's the purpose. Here's the reason why God has, on the one hand, made us a new creation, and on the second hand, he has resurrected us from death to life. For we are his workmanship, created in Messiah Yeshua for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Okay? The reason why is because we are his workmanship. Okay? We are his project. We are his house that needs renovation. Okay? We are that room that is a total disaster. We are that laboratory countertop that existed in a state of tohu vabohu. Okay? And so we are his workmanship. We are his project. And what he wants to do is he wants to transform us. He wants to take us from that life of utter darkness and despair, and he wants to bring us to a life of light and goodness. He wants to take us from death and bring us to a point where we are living in life. Okay? So this is the extreme makeover, and this is the reason why Adonai saved you. He saved you because you are his workmanship. You are his project. You're his project, and he's going to work on all of us and make an extreme makeover. Okay? He is transforming him, and each one of us, our lives have a purpose. Okay? And so let's look at Ephesians 2:18 through 22. Okay? And this is going to explain to us where this extreme makeover occurs. Okay? Within which context the extreme makeover occurs. Verses 18. It says, for through him we both have access by one Spirit to the Father. Now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God. Okay? That's where this transformation is going to occur. Having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yeshua Messiah himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building, being fitted together, grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. So this transformation of our lives from tohu vabohu into a beautiful creation and from death into life is going to occur within the context of an assembly, within the context of a congregation, within the context of a called out people who have come together and said that we are called by Adonai and we want to work together for this common purpose of allowing him to fit us together. And as it says there, in whom the whole building being fitted together, working together, grows into a holy temple in the Lord, right? And so the context is that this workmanship that Adonai calls us to is going to occur within the context of an assembly. And then, from verses 14 to 19, we see that it's going to occur within us. Okay? This transformation is within us. It's not so much external. It's not so much so that anyone who's tall can then become short, or someone who has brown eyes could then have hazel eyes, right? It's not so that someone who runs slow can now run fast. It's not the physical. It's something, the transformation is going to occur within our heart, okay? It's going to occur within our hearts. It's this. For instance, one of the things it would be that the chains of sin in our lives would be broken. It's going to be that maybe if we have some sickness or disease, maybe he wants to transform that and redeem that. It's going to be maybe a weakness that we have in the flesh that he wants to use for his glory. Okay? All these different things. It could be something like a Helen Keller who could not see and could not hear. And yet she was able to be taught by Anne. What was the lady's name that taught? Frank, say it. Anne Frank, right? Right. Sullivan. Anne Frank, yeah, that was okay. Yeah, the Anne Frank house. Right. No, Anne Sullivan? Yes. Okay. Again, I didn't prepare as much as I should have. But I knew you guys were sharp and that you'd help me out. Right? Okay? And that is an amazing story. Someone who is blind and deaf. How do you communicate with someone? And yet, Miss Sullivan was able to do that. And Helen Keller, the contribution that she has made, she overcame her weaknesses. She overcame her weaknesses. And I don't know how many of you know that story, but at the beginning, she was almost like a brute beast. I mean, she was like a brute. She was almost like an animal. Just totally living according to the impulses of her flesh. And Miss Sullivan began to work with her and began to teach her to the point where she was able to teach her even how to speak, how to communicate. You know, one of the greatest. You know how we have lots of sayings, famous sayings, and famous quotes. I hadn't planned this either, so I'm probably going to stumble through this. But one of the most beautiful quotes that I've ever heard, it came from Helen Keller, and she said, "I long." So here we go. I long to accomplish. I long to accomplish great. No, that's not how it started off. Okay, all right, hold on for a second. I can't believe it. It's because I'm nervous. I can't remember it because I know this. All right, hold on. Give me a second here. Oh, I long to accomplish great and noble tasks. Okay? I long to accomplish great and noble tasks, but I count it my chief duty to accomplish simple tasks as though they were great and noble. Okay? Something to that effect. It wasn't exactly word for word. I long to accomplish great and noble tasks, but I count it my chief duty to accomplish simple tasks as if they were great and noble. What an awesome thing. I mean, that there is so much spiritual wisdom in that. There's a lot of spiritual wisdom in that. But the idea is that it occurs within our hearts. It's a transformation within our hearts. And if you ever have a chance to read the story about Helen Keller or listen to it, you will see that a great transformation occurred in her life, where she went from basically a brute beast almost to one of the most important people in history, if you ask me. Okay, a woman of great character. Okay, all right. So how does it occur? How does this extreme makeover occur? And I'm going to start reading in Ephesians chapter 4, and starting in verse 7. This is how. So we already know that this transformation, that Adonai wants to transform us. We know that we are his workmanship. We know that we are his project. We know that this project that he's working on is going to occur within the context of a local assembly of people who are called together. We know that it's a transformation that's going to occur from within our hearts. Okay? So the question is how? How is it going to happen? Starting in verse 7. But to each one of us, grace was given. That word there. But to each one of us, grace was given according to the measure of Christ's gift. Okay? That word there, gift. Charismata, right? Therefore, he says, when he ascended on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts to men. Okay? Now, well, I'm going to keep reading. I'll come back to that. Now, he ascended. What does it mean? But that he also first descended into the lower parts of the earth. He who descended is also the one who ascended far above the heavens, that he might fill all things. And continuing in verse 11, this is how it's going to happen. And he himself gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers for the equipping of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Messiah, right? The congregation, where it's going to happen, till we what? All come to the unity of the faith and the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, excuse me, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Messiah, that we should no longer be tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the trickery of men in the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting, but speaking the truth in love may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Messiah, from whom the whole body, joined and knitted together by what every joint supplies, according to the effective working by which every part does its share, causes growth of the body for the edifying of itself in love. That's one of those Paul run-on sentences, right? It's one of those sentences that if we were taking a rhetoric class, that the teacher would say, she would mark it up and say, no, you need to throw some periods in here. You need to get your thoughts together here. But basically what it's saying here, is that God is going to pour out gifts. He's going to give gifts to us so that as everyone uses their gift, okay, the entire body will benefit. And the entire assembly will benefit through each member growing together in unity, and we're going to grow in strength and in character and become more like Yeshua himself, the ultimate goal of our recreation or our extreme makeover. Okay? That's the extreme makeover. That's pretty extreme. To take us and say, I'm going to make you into another Yeshua. Right? It doesn't get any more extreme than that. Right? Adonai's got a big task on hand, right? But that's what that big run-on sentence is saying, right? That he's going to pour out gifts, and that's why we're talking about spiritual gifts, right? Now, Yeshua is the one, if we look in there, what I just read, it basically says that Yeshua is going to give the gifts to us on the basis of his grace, okay? And what he does is he quotes from Psalm, I believe it's 68, where it says, right here where it says, let me turn back over here, when he ascended on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts to men. That can be kind of a little somewhat cryptic there. What's going on there? What it's saying is that when Messiah, when he was resurrected from the dead, what he did was he ascended to heaven. And as a result of his victory, he was able to pour forth back onto us little grace gifts, okay, as part of his spoils of war. The best picture of this is David. Remember the story where David and his men were out fighting, quote unquote, fighting with the Philistines. Because remember, David actually lived with the Philistines for a while. And while they were off, the Amalekites came and took their women and children and ran off. And so through a series of events, David was able to, when he came back, he was able to recapture those who were captive. So listen to what Psalm 68 says. It says, when he ascended on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. And if you read that story in 1 Samuel, what it says is that David, once he went and captured, he went and was able to rescue their wives and their children, and their belongings and other spoils of war. And what it says is that once David captured those spoils of war, it says that he went to the men of this city and gave gifts to them. He went to the men of this city and gave gifts to them, right? He would go from one city to another city, sharing with them the gifts of the spoils of war that he had gotten from the Amalekites. And it's a perfect picture of what it's saying here with Yeshua. Just as it says Yeshua, he took captivity captive. We were the ones who were captive in Satan, and he took us captive. We were in captivity, and he took us captive. Just like David went, he found their wives and their children who had been taken captive. He took captivity captive, and then he gave gifts unto men. You should read that story again, because I didn't have time to prepare as much as I wanted to, so I don't have the scripture reference for you. But if you go to Bible Gateway, it's an excellent story, and you will read how it says, and David went to this city, and he gave them these gifts, and he went to this city, and gave them this, and he went to this city, and gave them that. And there are all sorts of thematic connections between that story and Psalm 68, where this is quoted from, to tell us that story about David giving gifts to all those men in those different cities is exactly what he's trying to teach us here that Messiah did. Messiah resurrected, he ascended to heaven, and as the victory of the spoils of war, he pours forth the gifts that we are able to manifest. The other thing that we learn from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 7 through 16, is that the gifts that Adonai gives us, they are to profit other people. They are to profit others, okay? And that's what's going to happen. The way that we're going to grow is when everyone uses their gifts to serve each other. When you share your gift, when you walk in your gift within the context of an assembly, people grow. You grow and other people grow. You are blessed, other people are blessed. You grow in the Lord and other people grow in the Lord. So the goal of us using our gifts is to produce the life of Messiah Yeshua in each one of us, the ultimate makeover. Okay, the ultimate makeover. So what about spiritual gifts? We're just gonna introduce a few concepts. Then in a few weeks we'll talk about these in specific. Okay, everyone has one or more spiritual gifts. Okay, everyone has one, at least one, and some more. Okay, and we're gonna look at scriptures talking about all this as we go on. The word charismata literally means grace gifts. Okay, the Greek word charismata, grace gifts. That's what they are. These are gifts of grace that God has poured forth. Remember, as Yeshua, as he ascended to heaven, he poured forth gifts. Okay? They are God's spiritual equipment for effective service and edification of the body, right? Remember, he is building something. He is building something. He's using us. He's transforming us. And as equipment, he's using these gifts. Why? So that we can edify this entire assembly, so that we all can be blessed and grow. Spiritual gifts may be given at the moment of regeneration, but they may lie undiscovered and dormant for a long period of time. There are some of you who may not even know that you have a spiritual gift, a particular gift. And it could be for any number of reasons. It could be because of fear. It could be because of how you were treated by parents in the past. Let's say, how emotional trauma and things like that. There can be any number of reasons why a person may not be walking in their gifts. You may not know that it is your gift, okay? All right, spiritual gifts can be abused and neglected, okay? They can be abused and they can be neglected. We can choose not to function in our spiritual gifts, okay? I could choose not to lead worship. I could choose not to write songs, okay? Because one of my gifts is worship, is music and worship. I could choose not to do that. I could lay that under a bushel. I could lay that little light that he's put within me under a bushel. And some of us may have done that. Some of you may know that Adonai has given you a certain gift, and because of different reasons, maybe it's fear or whatever different reasons, you may have kind of put your gift up under the bushel here, under the bucket. You don't want anyone to know. You don't want to walk out in it for some reason. But they can be abused. They can be abused and or neglected, right? if I try to use my gift of leading worship so that I can become known and seen and maybe famous, and maybe someone will take my song and I want to send my song to Paul Wilbur so that he'll do it. And then maybe I'll get famous, right? So it can be abused, right? Gifts can be abused. Spiritual gifts are not the same as the fruit of the Spirit. Okay, that's different. They're not the same as natural talents. Okay? The whole idea behind a spiritual gift, remember, is that it is something that Messiah Yeshua pours out into your life as a grace gift. Now, it may be aligned with your talent. Okay? It may be aligned with your natural talent. Okay? So one of the gifts that I know that I have is the gift of teaching. Okay? Now, before I even got saved, I wanted to teach. Okay? When I was in college as an unsaved, when I was in college and not even saved, I loved teaching. When I was in college, I would tutor other students. I just love teaching. I love trying to take things that are complex, at least it's not too complex so that at least I can understand it, but things that are complex and try to break them down into smaller pieces so that people can understand them. And I did that all throughout college, okay? And I didn't know at the time that he was going to make me a Bible teacher. I didn't know that at that time. But I knew that it was a natural thing that I was drawn to teach other people. And then lo and behold, later on when I got saved, then that was one of the gifts that I had. So Romans 12, 3-8, what I'm going to do, we're just going to go over the 4 scriptures that talk about spiritual gifts. We're just going to hit them, highlight them. We'll look at them in a little bit more detail later on. But Romans 12, 3-8, it lists some spiritual gifts there. It talks about prophecy, service, teaching, encouragement, giving, leadership, and mercy. Those are some gifts there. And I don't think that these gifts here are all inclusive. Like there's no other gifts other than these right here. I think these are just some of the ones that Paul mentioned when he was writing this epistle. Okay? So those are some from Romans 13. And then in Ephesians 4:11, he talks about some other gifts. And he himself gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers. Okay? Some pastors and teachers. Those are other gifts. And then 1 Corinthians 12, 4-11, and verse 28. Apostles, there they are again, prophets, evangelists, pastor, teacher, dual role, teacher, not necessarily a pastor, but someone who has the gift of teaching, workers of miracles, gifts of healing, helps, tongues, and administration. Okay? Now we're going to go through these in the next few, here we got another one. 1 Corinthians 12, 8-11, the word of wisdom, word of knowledge, word of faith, healing, miracles, prophecy, discernment of spirits, tongues, and interpretation of tongues. Okay? Now we're going to go through these over the next few weeks, and we may not agree, and I'm not even totally settled myself on some of the gifts, okay, as far as which ones are ministry gifts and some of the nuances of everything. And I know that we all come from different backgrounds, right? I come from a charismatic background. Some of us may have, come from Pentecostal, some Catholic, the opposite extreme, the chosen frozen, Episcopalians, or, all sorts of extremes. You got Pentecostals on one hand, and then you got the Stoic Minoics over here, right? And so there's all sorts of extremes. So here's what I'm going to say. As we talk about the spiritual gifts, here's the point. The point is this. At the end of the day, we can agree to disagree on maybe which gifts you think are active and which gifts are not active, or which gifts are only for certain individuals or whatever. Here's the point. The point is that you find out what your gift is and you start using it to serve us. How about that? Was that clear? Right? That's what we're after here, right? We're not going to get in all sorts of theological arguments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to present to you where I'm at right now on spiritual gifts. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to change. It doesn't mean that I've arrived. I'm just going to share with you, and I'll give you guys opportunity to share. We like to give you guys an opportunity to share. This is not something that I'm any expert on. I'm still learning this. But here's the point. The point is that what we want to do is every one of us wants, the goal of this is to find our gift and then use it. Okay? That's what the goal is. And if we do that, it's not going to make any difference, about all these other things, whether, this is for today or not or whatever. God's giving you a gift. And once you find out what it is, you start using it. Okay? That's how we're going to do that. All right? All right, so here's the end. So I want to ask you guys a few questions here. And my sound folks, Mickey, can you get the mic, the wireless mic? Because I want to ask you guys a couple of questions.
Okay.
All right, so based on what I've said today, before we answer that question, why do people do extreme makeovers? Now, I haven't seen any of these programs, but I've heard about a program, it's called Extreme Makeover or something, where a person may have some kind of physical defect or something, and they will go to some plastic surgeon or something, and they'll pay big money, and he'll correct it. Right? And then this person will come out and they'll have all the makeup on and everything, and they're like this totally, transformed person. They'll show up before and after. Yes. So why do people do things like that? Why do people have extreme makeovers like that? Where's that mic? Oh, okay, yes. Somebody put your hand up. Jewel, why do we, Missy? All right. Missy and then Patrick. Why do people have extreme makeovers like that?
Social acceptance.
So that they can be accepted by man, right? Right? So that they can be accepted.
Hoping that a physical change will change the mental.
Right, okay? Hoping that a physical change is going to bring about other changes. Okay, Patrick?
They are not satisfied with their current condition.
Yep, that's called not being thankful. Right? Not thankful with who they are and what God has made them, right?
To be part of the world.
To be part of the world, right? We all want to fit in with the rest of the world.
Aesthetic purposes.
Aesthetic, just for outward appearance and outward looks. Insecurity. We're insecure, right? And there are different things. Obviously, there are different physical things that would make us insecure, right? So these are all some of the reasons why people have these extreme makeovers.
To try to make themselves something that they're not.
Right.
Other than God's creation.
Yep. To make ourselves appear to be what we're not. Okay. So now, here's the next question. Now that we've covered that, what's the difference between God's extreme makeover and the makeovers that we do on our own, man? Now that you've seen some of the extreme makeovers, why people do them, you know what God's extreme makeover is about. What's the difference between His extreme makeover and the ones we choose?
The position of the makeover, inside or outside, external or internal.
Excellent. So that's one of the main things right there, right? The makeovers that the world is concerned about are primarily exterior, outside, the body. What does the body look like, right? Whereas God's extreme makeover has to do with what happens in our heart. And you can remember, you remember the scripture that says that women should not be overly concerned about the external beauty, right? With, tons of jewelry and everything, tons of makeup, where you're walking and the powder is just dropping. You got a trail of powder behind you because there's so much makeup, right? But should be concerned what? About the hidden beauty of the heart, right? The hidden beauty of the heart, yes.
That was just the same thing with God's interested in the transformation of our heart.
He's interested in the transformation of our hearts. John.
People do their own, for their own glorification, but God does His in us to benefit others and ourselves.
Yes, that was the other one. There were a couple of things that I was hoping would come out. Judy was the first one to hit on the first one. about external versus internal, and John just hit the second one. The reason why, another major way that God's extreme makeover differs from ours is that his extreme makeover is so that it can benefit other people and not ourselves. Okay? That's what it's all about. When we walk in our gifts, when everyone finds out what their gift is, and then we begin to walk in our gift and trust the Lord to walk in our gift, that's when people are going to be blessed. Okay? People are going to be blessed. Right? You guys are already experiencing the blessings of having two people back there learning that sound booth and what to do. Okay? And it's not just, with the microphone and everything. There's a lot of things that goes on sound wise that we wouldn't be able to do that they're able to help with. So as we begin to find out what our gifts are, it's going to bless other people. Okay, so those are the two main things. All right, what practical difference is knowing your spiritual gift versus developing your spiritual gift make? Okay, what practical difference is it to know what your spiritual gift is versus developing your spiritual gift? Is it enough to just know what it is?
Well, knowing your gift hopefully means you start actually using it.
Right.
Whereas developing it just means, I guess, tweaking it and maturing it and being more sensitive about that area.
Okay, very good. And Judy?
It made me think of the scripture about the people who had the talents. One used them, or some used them and some didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They did it. It's one thing to know and have something. It's another to use it and it multiplies.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Crystal, Ann. She's bringing the mic.
I think that knowing is a jump start and then developing is going after.
Behind you. Go ahead and tap her. Okay.
I think that knowing is a jump start.
Okay.
And then once you know that, you run after it.
Right.
You develop it.
Right. Okay. Right. So there's a difference between the two. Okay. So so this is what I want everyone to think about this. I want you to just think about this right now. You don't have to answer this, but I want everybody to just take a couple of moments and think. What natural talents do you have? I want you to think about that. We're going to start thinking about these things over the next few weeks. First thing I want you to think about is what natural talents do you have? Because sometimes Adonai may give you a gift that kind of matches what your natural talent is, okay? So one of mine was I was naturally drawn to teaching, instructing, and so that's one of my spiritual gifts. So think about that. What natural talents do you have? Now, I have that star there because I had an excellent example I want to share with you, but I can't remember it now. Right? Oh, it's hilarious, yeah. It's real funny. Right? So we go on. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Some of you've already kind of heard about spiritual gifts and everything. You don't have to raise your hand or say anything because, as I said, we'll talk about this more. I'm just priming the pump here. What spiritual gift or gifts do you think you have? Think about that. What spiritual gift or gifts do you think you may already have? Is there any overlap with your natural talents and the spiritual gifts in Scripture? Some of the ones that we read already. Do you already see, as you take inventory of some of your natural talents, is there any overlap in any of the gifts that we've read about? And you don't have to write this down. We'll cover this later. But what do you think you have to offer to the congregation? Because that's what it's all about. Okay. At the end of the day, that's what we're gonna be talking about. Is of the gifts that we have, what do we think that we have to offer to the congregation. Okay? So as we go forward, we're just going to trust Adonai to lead us into this area of spiritual gifts, to kind of figure out, okay, well, what are they? Which one do I have, and how do I use it? With the whole intent being that we would serve other people. Amen. All right. Does anybody have anything they want to add to the message? Anything anything stirred up within you? Any of you maybe have thought, you might be thinking, yeah, I know I've got a gift and I've put it under a bushel. I'm not sharing my gift. Or maybe you don't want to talk about that. But maybe there's something that I said that kind of struck a chord with you. You want to share something with everybody. Anybody? Okay, Adam? If we can get the mic for Adam. What happened to that mic? Okay. Oh. All right, here comes, there they are. See, they're working as a team. Oh, look at that. They just made a handoff. One's going to the board and the other's got the mic. All right. Teamwork.
Well, what you were saying about transformation, it's been about 4 years ago now, and I went through a really, really tough time in my life, and something I really don't like to talk about, but I went through a very serious transformation in my life, and God did a work in me, and serious transformation happened to me, and it takes a long time for people to see that and really understand that. And just the fact that talking about transformation and things like that the outwardly versus inwardly. And it does take time for people to really realize that change has happened, but don't give up on it. And if God tells you something that really changes you, don't let things and people deter who you can be, and just keep putting your faith in Him and not man.
Amen. Okay. Very good. Right? We've touched on that before too, how, we might be typecast, right? Okay? But Adonai can do a work in us and change us. Anyone else? Has Adonai done anything? John, thank you for sharing that. It's awesome.
And sometimes, don't get overwhelmed or whatever. Sometimes your gifts doesn't mean you're professional or super good at it. Just you have a leaning and a bent toward that, and you just automatically head that way. And over time, you develop that and become better and better at it. So
Yeah.
I don't like that two gifts, and sometimes I do real well. Sometimes I can't stand it. But it's something that you can work on.
Amen. That's good. I love that point, because you don't have to be perfect at your gift, and you don't have to be the best at it either. You just need to do what God has asked you to do. We always joke about, Tina and I always joke about, with music that goes on up here, how there are lots of mistakes that are made. I mean, there are like bundles of mistakes that are made. We just keep doing it anyway, right? Keep doing it anyway, in all of our imperfection. Okay, bang. This is good. These are good comments. This is good stuff.
What you said, Tony, about how gifts can be neglected or abused. For a good number of years, I used the gift that the Lord had given me to serve the enemy. And the thing is about gifts, they can go either way. And I remember when I started reading Scripture, one of the things that really struck me, having an artistic or creative gift, was that I noticed that the Lord had anointed Bezalel and Aholiab with the gift of wisdom and all kinds of craftsmanship to design and to do all kinds of artistic things in service to the Lord in building His temple. But as I also read through Scripture, I noticed that you could also use that same exact gift for building idols or pagan temples or stuff like that. It's the same gift, but it's a matter of whether or not it's being used to serve the Lord or to serve the enemy. And unfortunately, before I was awakened spiritually, I used that gift to serve the enemy. The same thing's for music and many of the other gifts can be used the wrong way, being either true prophecy or false prophecy. Those gifts can go both ways.
That's right. And here I want to give you guys an example right here of Thane. You know, Thane said that in the past he had used his gift to serve the enemy and his gift in heart. And this, I can't stop it right now, but let's see here. This right here, our Beit Israel logo, Thane developed that. Okay? So remember what I was saying? What I was saying is that when we use our gifts to serve the body, I'm sorry it keeps going away, but that right there, he developed that for us. So when he used his gift, it's a blessing for all of us. Okay? It helps us all. Okay?